Hello, and thanks for tuning in as I build my 300 horsepower VR6 Beetle. And in this episode, I'm going to be concentrating on the cooling system for the engine. So I'm going to start with the auxiliary radiator, then work my way through to the remainder of the coolant hoses, and finish off with a vent grill behind the wheel arch. Additional to all of that, I'm also going to pull out the Gearshift lever and install a Quickshift kit. So it's going to be a big episode. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. All right, let's get on with it.
So here's the components of the Quickshift kit. I bought this off AliExpress, but the quality looks pretty good. I've also decided to change the bush at the bottom of the stick, as it made sense to do that while I was here.
So just comparing the original with the aftermarket Quickshift, there's a slight difference from the distance from the bottom of the ball to the pivot point when you compare the original to the aftermarket Quickshifter. So what that means is that the forward and back throw will be shorter. The side-to-side throw is unaffected. Off camera, I cleaned everything up, gave the housing a little bit of a light brush with the wire wheel just to make everything look a bit neat. Assembly is pretty much the reverse. So I'm starting to wade through all the information to figure out how the coolant system can work with the R36 engine in the Beetle. Essentially what I'm going to do is just take all the R36 hoses and fit them inside the Beetle form. The problem I am currently running against is the dreaded NLA no longer available. I have hoses 10 and 16 currently coming from the US. 16 is on back order. I don't know when that will come or if it will come at all. Hose number 17 is also NLA, no longer available. 14, 8 and 6. So this is not an unusual problem with Volkswagen parts apparently, but it is quite annoying because you have to try and find aftermarket alternatives that'll fit. But so far my supplier in Europe has sent me all the parts I've asked for. So these are a lot of the connectors. Unfortunately, because of the no longer available, I bought this component, which is second-hand. I'm not a fan of buying second-hand hoses, but needs must. This is the auxiliary radiator. I've got it covered in cardboard just to protect the fins while I'm fitting up. Also, Here's all the coolant hoses I've taken off the AQY 2-litre Beetle to see if I can actually recycle these to replace the no longer available hoses. I've got these two hoses here, which I think were for the heater, which I'll potentially use to connect to the auxiliary radiator here. So, mentioning the auxiliary radiator, it's a hot climate option. Because I live in Australia, and particularly where I live, I might have mentioned earlier that our summer gets above 40 degrees for about a week, and typically our summers are about 35 degrees Celsius. So there's absolutely no way that I'll be deleting this additional or auxiliary radiator. One other thing, I bought this the other day off my favorite Chinese marketplace. I think it was like 15 bucks. Man, it's a lifesaver. I don't know how you guys have been taking apart these original hoses, but this thing makes it a dream. So if you're doing a lot of these hoses, do yourself a favor. If what you're doing doesn't work, go buy one of these. So looking through the hole where the headlight should be, my plan is to install the additional radiator into this area here. So I've got the radiator roughly in the spot I want. I'm just going to mark some reference points. So I'm going to secure the auxiliary radiator using some flat bar. I'm using this 25 by 5mm bar only because it's what I've got left over from making the brackets for the fans. So the auxiliary radiator bracket's pretty much finished. It just needs a bit more grinding down, tidying up and painting. Again, like before, this slides in like that. And again, this will have like a rubber gasket between the bracket and the aluminium of the radiator. That way there's no corrosion issues. And to hold it all together, I'll use these M6 bolts, which will then clamp the bracket to the radiator. Just slide this in from underneath. I did have to bend the power steering lines a little bit, but they're still very functional. So as you can see, I've clearanced for this earth mount here and for this little notch of the chassis. Oops, just fallen. The other one should just pop in there. Lovely. So it's in there. It's pretty solid actually. So battery tray, you can see that the two pipes that go into the radiator are pretty tight in there. This one should be okay, that's the inlet. This outlet, I'm going to have to just clearance this battery tray. The rest is pretty fine. There we go. So it's pretty tight against, get hard with the light, there we go. So the top's pretty clear, but it's the bottom that actually is just a little bit away. So I've taken the front bumper off and the wings just to let you guys have a better look of what's going on. So here you can see here the auxiliary fan and the bracket, which is fitting snugly in there, mounted to the two original holes on the chassis. Okay, so off camera, I've just cut that hose to what I think it should be, there and there. Let's try and do this first. So that's the radiator. That would sit like that. So I'll put that in place, but let's just see if it'll fit. All right, that's pretty good. Here's the battery tray. It fits on the left side of the car. This is towards the engine. This is towards the outer wing. So what I need to do is I need to take a little bit off this corner to allow that hose to safely pass by. So this point here is the original location hole for the power steering reservoir. Unfortunately, this strikes the engine. So what I'm going to do is just cut this portion off and then drill a new hole so I can relocate the reservoir to this side of the tray. So to help me with the nightmare that is trying to figure out the battery tray, all the hoses around that area, I've just made up this box, or part of a box, just to simulate the size of the battery that I can get. That is the smallest but gives out the same cold crank as the Passat battery. Now, when I fit the R36 hose in the original orientation, you'll see here that it goes well into the battery zone. So the other thing I tried was to just swap the ends, so because there's a longer and a shorter end. So I tried that, and that definitely made a large improvement, but that's still not good enough. So my last Hail Mary is I bought this silicone radiator hose. The reason why I'm liking this, because if you look at that bend is super tight. So I've cut the hose, the silicone hose, with a really tight bend. Again, I'm not super thrilled with a super tight bend like this. It's not great for hydraulic flow, but it is what I need to get this done. So I just cut another 8mm off the end of the hose, probably pushing the friendship a bit. You can see that's almost 45 there, but this hose is quite supple, so it's a bit forgiving. So again, I'll put this in place, and lo and behold, I think we're good. So I've just had a delivery today. One of the hoses that I've been waiting for from the States. This one here, number 10 on this diagram. That one there. Box fresh, genuine Volkswagen. So you can see here, it's a bit of a strange one. See, they're fused together. I'm not going to put any clips on just yet because I just want to map out the paths, and then I'll put it properly in place once I'm actually satisfied. So this engine wiring loom, I'm still deciding where it's going to run, so these hoses will dictate that as well. That's actually way better than I thought, because it misses the air conditioner hose, which is lovely, because I was worried about that. I'll just have to put some material between it so they don't rub. So that goes there, and this hose goes on the end there, and then this one, which is my aftermarket silicon, goes on my dodgy path to the additional radiator. So I've mocked this up using a piece of scrap hose and the hose that will fit on the top of the auxiliary radiator. I've taken this to my local automotive store in the hope that I can maybe find something similar. I did find this, which is a Gates part, so I'm going to use it for that portion up to there and join these two together, and hopefully that gets me the hose that I need. So off camera and with a few trips to the local parts store, I finally come up with a set of hoses that will allow me to finish off this front end. So this is the R36 additional water pump, electric pump. So I've cut this hose off to create this piece, and that's the original T piece. I've got this bit of just generic hose, some silicone hose which I've cut to size, the OEM connector. This needs to be replaced, but this will also be another silicone hose, and the OEM connector that goes to the radiator. For the auxiliary radiator, this is the Beetle hose that I'd shown before, but I've just changed it from one side to the other. And this is a piece of Gates hose. That little black piece is just a temporary joiner. I'll have to get a joiner later. So I'm just going to install this whole lot into the car.
So you can see here all the hoses are now in place. They don't have the clamps as yet because this is just a final test fit, but everything's fitting up nicely, even though it is quite tight next to the battery location, as you can see here. So the only issue I have left is this hose here. It's currently clashing with the primary fan bracket. I'll probably have to do something with the fan bracket, or maybe I'll just change the whole design to match the metal one that I made for the secondary fan. This is the inner fender guard from the front left of the car. To allow good outflow from the auxiliary radiator, I'm going to install these two vents. I'm actually going to install them backwards so that when the wheels fling dirt, they actually don't directly fling them inside the guards. You can see here that there is a hole here already, and this was me cutting out damage that the previous owner had done as they were running wider tyres. The surface finish here as well, I have applied a single stage urethane truck bed liner. The finish is quite rough. The texture is actually rougher than I wanted. I actually used the wrong roller, but it looks like stone chip, and it's going to stay for now.
the camera actually ran out of batteries. I've cut the hole for one of the grills out. I put some heat on this one to try and bend it, and I ended up mangulating the whole thing. So I'm going to continue cutting out for both vents using this as the template, and I'll have to reorder another one to replace this, which will take a couple of weeks. But overall, I'm pretty happy. Looks like a pretty clean result. Once I fill those gaps up, it'll look like it really belongs there. And as you can see here behind the front wheel, the vents look pretty authentic and they're unobtrusive, and the fins point down so the wheels won't flick dirt directly onto the back of the additional radiator. Okay, so the auxiliary radiator is in place. The fabrication of the bracket went really well. I'm really pleased with the result. Also, all the coolant hoses are in place, so that's a great milestone because that was an absolute head burner trying to fit all the hoses in and the combinations to make it work in that tiny space. I'm nearly at my goal of being able to permanently fit the radiator and the front cowling. I've just got to sort out that niggly issue with the fan bracket clash, and then I'll be good to fit the front for good. And also, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe with your friends. Thanks.